Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the 153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started. What's going on? Facebook Live, YouTube, how we doing? It's Thursday. The week is almost over. I am glad to see you all here. We got some awesome hosts in the house tonight, along with our special guest, Mr. Matt Gibson. Why can't we be friends, bro? Go down in that lower left-hand corner, click that share button. Let's get some folks in here. We got some great topics, man. These past couple of shows have been great. A lot of feedback, a lot of good questions coming through the chat, a lot of opinions. It's been great discussions. So I'm excited for tonight. We got some hot topics on the books. Nicholas Beltran's in the chat. What's up, brother? Go follow him, man. Fishing Tackle Adventures on YouTube. He's putting out some great content. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. I did a podcast with him back around iCast. You can always go back and check that out in the library. Jay Randall's not here tonight, folks. He'll be back soon. He had some medical issues. Everything is looking better. Had a little surgery. It's all good. He's all good. He's at home resting. So thoughts with our brother from another mother, Mr. Jay Randall. So let's get these folks in here. Tonight, the lineup is Mr. Brad Hicks.
Hey!
Mr. Dustin Doo-Doo Nichols.
What's up? What's up?
Christopher Slifka.
What's going on?
And the man, the myth, the legend. He likes to call himself greatness. Mr. Matt.
No, I think you have that reverse, man. That's you. Every time I call Brian, he answers greatness.
That's a running joke. It's a running joke. Mr. DeVries is in the house. What's up, my friend? If you guys aren't following Eastport Marina, go give those guys a follow. If you're looking for a nice fishing destination, give the good folks down at Eastport Marina, down there on Dale Hollow in Tennessee, a shout. But, man, got some hot topics. The chat started to get a little hot tonight. Who brought it up? Was it Susie? I think it was Susie Roloff.
Yeah, it was Susie.
Brought it up. She saw a comment from our ex-aficionado, Mr. Ryan Milford, over there on the old KBNs. But somebody brought up pro tours and pro tour fishing and, what that means for the sport. Is it good? Is it bad? Are we there yet? Things of that nature. Mr. Milford didn't want it because he thought it would ruin it, and I don't understand his mode of thinking on that. I tried to read through his comments, but it was a bunch of gibberish. Sorry, Ryan. But we'll start off with Slifka, because I know he was in that conversation, and then we'll jump to Brad, and then Dustin, and then Matt.
Yeah, well, I was saying, it would make it better. A pro series or anything, any type of spotlight on the sport itself, obviously makes it better. Whether you're a tournament fisherman or not, it kind of trickles down. It's the reason why some of these people have, the sponsorships they have through the bass fishing, through the boat tournaments and everything. The reason these companies have money is because the pros on those series. And it kind of trickles down. It trickles down to the younger levels, and it trickles down to high school and everything else, as far as like sponsorships and everything. So we need more instead of less.
Right on. Mr. Hicks, you had some strong opinions that were a little bit of the opposite side of that.
No, I agree with what Chris is saying. I mean, but I'm not a tournament angler, so
Sure.
I'm like, I'm with Ryan. Like, I understand, like he's afraid that it'll come. Kayak fishing will become more like the boater side. I can see that. I don't know if it will get as crazy, but I can see where he's coming from. I don't know, dude. I'm not a tournament guy, so I don't really care one way or the other if it grows or not. I'm just here for a good time, I guess.
Sounds kind of dirty. I like it. Dustin?
Yeah, I'm all for the growth. You know, there's going to be growth no matter what. I mean, you've seen it in leaps and bounds the past few years. But the fact of the matter is, you're always going to have grassroots events. Those are not going to go away. Those are not going to go away. That's what feeds to your bigger trails into becoming, you know, going out nationally and chasing stuff. Is your anglers that excel in these local trails and want to step out the comfort zone and go try against other people in different regions, and then eventually maybe travel across the country. That's what feeds this stuff. That's the root of tournaments, is the grassroots. I'm telling you, that's it.
Absolutely.
On another note, the pro side of things is kind of the tricky thing. I mean, because you got influencers and YouTubers with more followers than some of these pros have, and you're seeing them getting bigger contracts and getting paid and monetized stuff more than some of these pros are. That's why a lot of the pro guys on the boat side jumped on YouTube and started recording their tournaments and building a following there too, because you have so much reach through that platform. I mean, it's free to post videos. You know?
Any social media platform, I think,
same.
really, you know, when you all break it down. Mr. Gibson, I mean, you know, you're part of a grassroots club. You help run IKA, Indiana Kayak Anglers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you could relate to what Dustin's saying. What are your thoughts, man?
So I didn't see Ryan's post or anything, but I kind of get it through what you guys are saying, and I don't know. Part of me is all for it and really happy and really glad that the sport's moving forward. But then another part of me is, man, we are cutting the piece of the pie shorter and shorter every time a new tournament organization shows up.
So that's it.
And I don't know if that's bad. I don't know if that's good, you know, but it definitely is splitting some smaller grassroots organizations. I mean, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I was listening to Brad and Josh's podcast today, you know, and you know, Brad brought up in the group chat that, you know, in Ohio their bodies of water are pretty small, right? And now they're having, you know, 60, 70 person events, and it's like every 10 yards down the bank is a kayak or a boat or whatever it may be, you know. So that's a thing too. And you guys were discussing like the Paddle and Fin Trail Series. Well, like in Indiana, for instance, I mean, how many clubs you guys got? And not only that, but let's mention Grubby, who has 5 or 6 tournaments on different bodies of water throughout Indiana, you know, so you can almost count each body of water as its own separate club. I mean, if you look at Indiana, it's just overflowing with tournament opportunities.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's multiple chances or multiple opportunities in Indiana right now every weekend to fish a tournament.
Susie, your mic's kind of tweaking. I'm going to pull you out real quick, see if you can reset that. We got Nicholas Beltran in the house.
What's up?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Guys, you were gonna leave me like by myself there in the chat. Just I felt like I had to get on. I had to come on and join you guys. What's up, Dustin? What's up, Brad?
What's going on?
What's up, Matt? What's up, guys? I'm good. I'm doing
So
well.
you fish Kayak Anglers of Florida, right?
Used to, but yeah, I mean, I'm known for fishing the trail that we had started down here in South Florida, and then it kind of branched off into the entire state. But I fished that for about a year, but it's still going on, still kicking.
Yeah, right on. You got any thoughts as far as like Pro Tour and what it does for the sport, man?
I mean, the only thing it's going to do is just innovate what we started with. What already the boat, the competition for boats and stuff like that are same kind of concept, same growth, same. It's almost like it's growing faster than what the boat competition arena, got to. It's blown up in like, what is it, 4 years now that we're talking about pro tours and stuff like that for kayaks? It's crazy.
Sure.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys. I'm just looking at my screen right now to see if it's well. Do you guys hear me well?
Yeah.
Right,
You're
cool.
good, man.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, KBF had their first Pro Tour in what was that, 2019? And that kind of faded away. That was, not really a failure. I think it just was. It just wasn't successful. It just wasn't there. It wasn't its own entity. It was something that was thrown on top of the trail series. And I was thinking about this after seeing the conversations and stuff. I remember, I think me and Brad did a podcast with Kurt Smits, right? Like way back in the day. And he was talking about East West Harbor. And in the regular trail event, I think he took 6th or 8th, but then he won the Pro Tour. And he was like, I feel like I just cheated everybody because I had a few extra bucks to throw in the pot.
Yeah. And
that same instance happened to me up at the Madison Trail. Like I think I took 8th overall. Well, should have been 7th or 8th, I think. And then because of some bullshit that happened behind the screens, I ended up getting bumped down a spot. But I took 2nd in the Pro Tour, and it was like, this doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
But
I think they're planning on doing that again next year, aren't they? Like piggybacking off of trails.
I don't know if it's going to be piggybacked off the trail or if it's going to be separate. I don't know if that kind of detail was released. But we got Susie in here too, Mrs. TD. So you started this mess. So throw your 2 cents in there.
What have I missed so far?
No, we're just talking about Pro Tour, good, bad, thoughts on it.
Oh, like the KBF Pro Tour?
Well, just Pro Tour in general.
Or just a Pro Tour in general. So there's been some different conversations I've seen running around the threads. So I know the KBF Pro Tour is going to be coming back next year. And then there was chat about in the nation about, what would it look like or how would it be set up, for kayak anglers to be like a pro thing, kind of like the big bass world, And there were some very interesting, mixed comments in there, as far as like opinions and whatnot, but a lot of things definitely need to happen in order for, kayak fishing to be at like an elite and pro level. I mean, unless you're like, Jody Queen or Drew Gregory, winning consistent tournaments. But then again, it can just be stupid luck too. You can use some of that for your income. But, trails and stuff right now, we definitely don't have the payouts, to like, quote unquote, make a living for it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what figures are as far as what it takes to compete in like elite boat tournament type things. But like, I know the prizes for some of those, can be anywhere from like 100,000, 250,000, that type of thing. So, a lot of people were saying, well, you just got to win 1 or 2 of those and you'll be fine. But then I'm like, is it really though?
No.
Because you got to think about the amount of, gear you're going to need. I mean, are you using your own boat or are you using like a boat that's provided to you? Rods, reels, gas, not only for the boat, but for your vehicle as well. Lodging,
maintenance,
food, maintenance. Exactly. You have all of these different variables that take into effect when it comes to being like an elite and a pro. And even then you have to go to like a level way, way up there to like, not only promote yourself, get your name out there, and in today's society and standards, you got to have like the social media presence out there. You got to have YouTube channel. I'm not saying that you have to, But in order to really set yourself apart and make yourself, known to the communities out there, you got to have the content. And, whether it's like podcasting or YouTube or Instagram or all of the above, you need all of those things to get additional sponsors as well, because some sponsors may cover just your entry fees. Some of them might cover, some of your rods and reels, and that might be either you get a certain amount per year or you get a certain percentage off per year. There's all these different stipulations and things that come into play when it comes to these types of things. So like when you think about bass boat world compared to the kayak world, there's a huge monetary difference between those
For
two.
sure. Yeah, like you're definitely saying that there's in the discussion, it's like, well, hey, is it going to be $1,000 entry fee? Or is it going to be $5,000? And who's going to be able to pay up front 7 events at $5,000 a pop, or 7 events at $1,000 a pop? And that's when you see it over and over. You need support to the trails from non-endemic sponsors.
Yes.
You need something outside of the kayak world to come in, freaking Takis or something like that, Mountain Dew. I mean, this has been said over and over, and that's totally what I see.
Yep.
Yeah, but I have faith that that's going to happen later on. I have faith that that's going to happen. I mean, we're only going to be rolling that way anyway. We almost did that about a year ago or 2 years ago, I believe. So it's getting there. We just, it's just time.
Yeah, I mean, in the big boat world, in the most successful anglers, right? Like, they're not surviving off of tournament winnings. They're surviving off of, partnership deals, sponsorship deals, media deals, things like that. That's their bread and butter. Yeah, a lot of that's paying for their entry fees, but at the same time, that's what's keeping them afloat. I remember just recently, because Seth Feider won Angler of the Year this year, he did a podcast with Mike Iaconelli, and he discussed, like, for years he struggled. Like, he was to the point where he was going to walk away and quit, and then he won, I think it was an event in New York, I believe. And that gave him the boost to keep going. And, he remembered when he finally qualified for the Elite Series through the Opens, he's like, all right, great, I'm going to get a bunch of sponsors. That's not how it works. And he learned that the hard way, and, I think you're totally right, Susie, as far as, like, you got to make your name a household name, whether it be through social media or YouTube or some kind of killer promotional deal with a company that's blasting your face and your name all over the place. I think that's the huge thing there. I mean, what do you guys think about all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
I
agree. Mr. Hicks.
I get super. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gibson. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I get super nervous when big organizations get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Not saying the Bass or anybody's doing a bad job, but when those larger organizations are there to make money off of the anglers, that's when I start getting a little cautious. A lot of grassroots tournaments, they're 100% payback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to happen that way with
well, I think we had that argument before too in relation to Bass, because it was with Armando, because he had his panties in a bunch that Bass was taking, like, what was it, like $8,000 or $6,000 out of the prize pool for the championship or something like that. I mean, you're spot on. Like, you're paying X amount of money, and you would expect that to be in the prize pool, but at the same time, you got to pay for all these other things, right?
Yeah.
So, there's got to be some kind of medium balance. And right now, you don't have endemic sponsors paying for those fees, so it's coming out of the prize pools.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It'll get there though, I think. But like I said, I'm just a regular guy. I'm a spectator. That's what I consider myself, a spectator. So
I don't care, bro. I counted on your podcast today, Brad. You said I don't care 5 times, I think it was.
Yeah,
Only 5
I
times.
listened to that one.
Only 5 times. That's actually pretty good.
That was
Solid
good.
take.
That was
Solid
good. I was saying that as a compliment. But I mean, let's go to Dustin, right? Because Dustin, you got a pretty extensive resume, and I always like to use you as a great example. But you do a ton of stuff, man. Whether it be social media, photos, writing articles, like things like that. I mean, your name came up in one of the conversations. I think Jay was actually here, so it was a few shows ago. But we were talking about like you write, what is it, 2 articles a month or something?
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 sometimes. It all depends on who I'm going to submit some stuff to. There's a couple of local publications in Texas, regional stuff. I submit some stuff to. Yeah, you get freaking brain writer's block, man. You got to come up with ideas and come up. Normally it's about what's been going on the past few weeks. Like I just wrote about the fall transition of the redfish and the speckled trout, and just kind of go over some baits and kind of stuff like that. I'm not really into giving like fishing reports. Like that's basically what one of the publications is, but I like to go a little more in depth and help people too. So, but yeah, it's such a weird game, man. I mean, coming from surfing and skateboarding and having sponsors, it was sponsors. It wasn't no promotional staff. I mean, I had a board sponsor. I had,
well, you could get on flow teams.
Yeah, and you can get on flow with skateboard teams. They send you some wheels, a couple decks, and this and that. Huh. I've been around that forever. I was freestyle, Alita wetsuits out of California. I had some sunglass sponsors, multiple of those back in the day. And the tone of conversation I learned over the years was you don't go in there and say, well, hey, I got this, and then, this is what y'all gonna do for me. That don't work. The main thing is go ahead and use a product you believe in. If you have something you absolutely believe in, you use that product and you share the crap out. Man, I'm tearing them up on this, and you post pictures and you do this. And eventually that company's going to reach out when they see what's going on. Or when you do contact them, they're like, oh yeah, you share our pictures all the time. You sharing this gear all the time, and that's what they're looking for. That's totally what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that's there's a ROI, return on investment. They're going to invest something in you, and you're going to have to return on that note. You're going to have to pay that back by promotional aspects of it. There's a whole different thing out there, the pro staff, and then sponsorships. Sponsorships, you're getting paid. There's some, been fortunate to come on board with a few companies that lean that way, And the thing is, saltwater events, we got some pretty big ones here and there, but they're not quite as big as the bass side of things.
Sure.
We do have some larger events that get thrown here and there. But I mean, there's still a lot of saltwater guys that don't like the CPR aspect,
Right.
Dealing with that right now with KSS, with the championship, who knows? The CPR thing, the manipulation of the tail, the way you can position it. I mean, everybody can do it unless you go to hands off, which, I mean, that'd be great. Because normally when I measure my fish in bass tournaments, I lay them down at an angle on a Catch X board and take the hand off and get a picture and let them go.
Well, Dustin, now they're trying to implement, sorry to interrupt you, but now they're trying to implement video now. So now it's video.
Yeah, the video after you release.
Nothing gets, overlooked.
So that's interesting, right? Because I had a thought on that too, right? Like I understand the aspect of the video thing. I think it's a nice added thing, but kayaks were catch, photo, release. It's good for the fish, this and that. But when you think about it, bass boat guy catches a fish, he immediately unhooks it, throws it in a live well. Now you got kayak anglers trying to get every stinking quarter inch out of a fish on a board with the fish flopping around, and they're fumbling around with a camera. And then they finally get a photo. Now you got to switch camera to video, record that fish on the board, releasing it into the water. So is it better? Is it worse? Like, is it going to play a detriment to the fish? Like, I mean, anybody got any thoughts on that?
It's going to depend on the angler.
Yep.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest, right? We got a couple smallmouth guys in here, Gibson, Hicks, Slifka, like
Them little bad-tempered things, man.
yeah. Well, and that's just it. And they're fragile. They're fragile.
they
They're
are.
way more fragile than a largemouth. So now you're in a river tournament or, on one of these, deep lakes that hold smallmouth. You're fumbling around for 3-4 minutes with a smallmouth out of water. What's that going to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always worried about that. Fishing the river, it's crossed my mind. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it or anything, but
why not?
I'm sure some of them don't. I don't know. I'm sure some of them don't make it.
Why are you here?
Because I'm here for a good time.
This is a great question too.
Yeah,
Andrew Watson's asking, can you capture your submission pic from the video?
Yes.
I believe you can.
Yeah,
Yes.
I touched on
On
that.
iPhones, you can.
I have that on my account.
Android, you
Galaxy.
can.
Will it
Yeah,
still
you
have
can
the
capture
location?
Yes, it should be.
It
You
should
have
because
the-
it should all
have
be
that exif
integrated.
data.
Yeah, because your camera, depending on how your settings are, at least Android wise, because I have an Android. Once you set your location services, regardless of what you take a video or a picture, panorama, or whatever, it should all be integrated into it.
Yep.
So I mean,
Matt.
just to include here, I actually dabbled into like helping judge fish, like Brian said that when I was in the Kayak Anglers of Florida, I had a bunch of experience. I learned helping to establish that trail and learning about judging, learning about fish, learning about capture, photo release, and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, to be real honest with you guys, these guys don't take it lightly. I mean, as far as judging the fish and as far as making sure that all the photos and all your catches and everything are on point. I mean, the fact that we've listened to all these things that's happened, like with Ron Champion and all these, they just build up misconceptions of how people cheat and all that stuff. But they're really strict about those things, and I firsthand have seen it and judged it. And you would have to really cheat really hard to do something crazy like that. So
Yeah, I mean, we got a term in paddle and fin. It's called being Susie Q'd, and she's a pretty strict judge. Like,
Dude, I had
that
a friend that's like,
that mouth better not be cracked, or you're in trouble.
I had a friend
Good.
that said, "Man,
Good.
Susie's really tough judge of fish." I was like, "Good."
I've fished multiple tournaments the Susie's judge, and I've never had an issue, not one.
Yeah, neither have I.
But also, I think some of that's because I've judged a shit ton of fish before.
Yeah.
So I know how it feels to sit in that chair and trying to judge a fish and going, man, I just don't see it. And then adding this video thing, honestly, that's I don't know, man. I feel like that's just more to do.
From a tournament director and judge standpoint, I could potentially see it becoming a standard if, the cheating issues become more and more frequent. There's people who are going to the lengths of modifying their phone data into their pictures so that they can either, adjust the location, adjust the time, who knows what else, depending on what kind of a tournament it is. So, I could almost see it becoming a standard because, people are just fed up with having all these extensive rules and regulations where you're just going to have somebody find all the loopholes, which again, a lot of it's not always intentional. Some of it is intentional, but, to have that solid proof and evidence that you caught that fish, you put it on the board there, you measured it and you let it go. You didn't share it with anybody. I mean, technically you wouldn't be able to prove that somebody else shared it with you unless, you had somebody who was not in the tournament fishing alongside you. That could be the other part of it.
See, there's always a way.
There is always a way.
Yeah.
There is always a way.
Somebody wants to cheat bad enough, they're going to figure out a way to do it.
That's
Well,
exactly right.
And it's the same thing in the boat world, right? Like, there's numerous ways you could cheat in the boat world. I mean, and you've seen a lot of that. So it's
You find the
not just
boxes. You
Yeah.
see the freaking barrels.
It's not just kayak fishing in
Yeah.
general. So I mean, we're not trying to single them out. I just want to make that.
Heck, it's every sport in existence.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It
Yeah.
really is, you know. I mean, there's going to be no foolproof way to go about it. I mean, yeah, maybe once everybody has their own personal drone following them around, then maybe, but still, you could have your techies, you know,
That
come
would be
and
cool.
like try to figure stuff out with it or that type of thing. So, I mean, yeah, it would be cool. That could be the future.
It would probably have some casting problems with a lot of people casting having that stuck up on the drone.
I caught my damn drone again.
I almost hit Jay's drone down on Dale Hollow when me, Dustin, and Jay went out on
Oh,
Dale
man.
Hollow. I was like, Jay's like, cast at the drone, and I almost hit it with a chatterbait.
Smack it.
That would have been great. He would have been really mad.
But as Matt was saying, you know, like, you know, he's been a judge and, you know, he didn't really have a problem, you know, with, you know, me judging his fish or anything, but it's because, you know, he knows like the criteria, he knows like what should be on there, how good photos should be taken, all that other stuff. You know, it's not always easy being a judge. I'll tell you that straight up, you know, like you have some of these new people who are submitting fish and they got the mouth halfway open, you know, just like, golly, you know, you're just like, come on, man. Like, I get it. A new person, heat of the moment, they're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, you try to coach them and everything. But, you know, if there is one thing that, you know, I try to do when I am judging, I'll reach out to the angler. If I have a question, if I have a concern, if I can't see, you know, something very good, I'd be like, hey, can you send me your version of the photo to me via Facebook Messenger so I can get the actual photo in its purest resolution? Because TourneyX does have like the downgrading of the pixels and whatnot, just so that I can get a closer view, a closer look at everything, be like, okay, yep, you know, that wasn't open, you're good to go, or whatever it may be. I always try to, you know, put the benefit of the doubt, you know, of the angler first, you know, okay, you know, what do I see here? What's going on? Reach out to the angler, try to give them some time to respond if, you know, they aren't responding, or maybe they just have their location services, or not location, but like their phone on mute or whatever, then, you know, I just got to do what I got to do. But at the end of the day, you know, when it comes to judging, to me, it's about being fair and consistent, like straight across the board. Like, I don't care who is sitting behind that fish. I am looking at the fish on the board. Is it on the board right? Is the mouth closed? Are you touching that tail? Are you covering that tail? Is anything on the fish? Is anything in the fish? You know, all these other different criteria. Then once I get past that, then boom, it's done.
So Richard chimed in and he says, I don't think kayak anglers are motivated by money. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Depends.
Yep.
It depends.
The ones who want to be pro are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Agree.
It just depends, you know, on what is your drive, you know, towards this. What is your goal? You know, are you wanting to make money off of this? Are you just doing it for fun? Are you doing it as educational purposes? Are you doing it as, you know, whatever it may be? You know, that question is more of, you know, to each person
Individual.
their own.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I know when I fish locally, it's because I want to win some money.
Right. I mean, that's just always an added benefit. You're just like,
Some
hey,
of our
I'm gonna
local
be
trails, you know.
But
some of
Brad,
our
you
local
don't care.
trails get 100 anglers, over 100 anglers. You know, it's crazy.
What's that?
Said some of
I
our
said,
local
Brad,
trails,
you
you
don't-
know, it's over 100 anglers. You know.
Yeah. Texas has got a big scene.
Yeah, we got quite a few local trails that are really
Texas is
cool
crazy.
to fish. Yeah.
Well, same with Indiana, right? Like you guys have had tournaments, 80, 90 anglers, right?
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yep. Michigan's
on the
had one.
White River, man. 90 anglers is nuts.
It is. And
And to judge. Oof.
and there's a lot of water there too, and you still can't fully spread out sometimes. 90 anglers.
Yeah, I launched with like 15 people when I
Yeah.
did that tournament that one year.
Yep.
Crazy.
So, I mean, you know, going back to sponsorships and stuff like that, Dustin touched on that, but I want to get want to get a point of view from Mr. Gibson. You know, he's regional director for the Great Lakes region in New Canoe.
The region.
You said it, bro, not me. I was trying not to start fights, but like, you know, I was trying to be nice to the other boys and girls out there. But
yeah.
So I mean, from your end, right? Because you got to make decisions on, you know, who to pick up, who to bring on the team. Like, who do you see as a good fit? Like, give us a couple examples, because this topic always comes up on our show, right? Give us a couple examples of like things you look for and things you see where you're like, no fucking way, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Where like people are just oblivious to that fact. You know what I mean?
Hell to the no.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you know, in a presence online. It's, for me personally, it's not one of, you know, it's not probably the top thing. The top thing to me is being somebody that's respected in the community, the kayak community. So like if somebody applies, like I'll reach out to somebody that fishes with them and say, you know, and you go back, you look at like, you know, pictures and just see, you know, see if they're hanging out with the guys after tournaments or they're a road warrior or you know, looking for traits where they're active in the community and they're a good member of the community. That's another extremely important part. Having an online presence is great. I'll be the first one to tell you that, man, my presence on social
Sucks.
media is pretty low, and I know that. But in the community here, I know a lot of people. I talk kayak fishing with a lot of people. I feel like they're comfortable talking kayak fishing with me, and that's, to me, that's a huge and important thing. And then, you know, guys that you'll see guys that are shop rats. Every time you go to a kayak shop, they're there.
Yeah.
Like those are the dudes you look for too.
Yes, for sure.
Not just the guys that are hashtagging all the time in a photo that doesn't, you know, they're out at Texas Roadhouse with their girlfriend and hashtag whatever. Like,
oh man.
Cash me outside. How about that?
That's right. That's right.
Matt Gibson's favorite restaurant, Texas Roadhouse. Check that out tonight.
It's not bad.
That's hilarious.
But yeah,
him down here.
And then, you know, kind of like Dustin pointed out earlier, somebody that's actually had the product, you know, that's actually used the product, that you've seen them use it, you know, for an extended period of time, and you can tell if somebody's genuine or not, and if they genuinely use the product and like the product versus them not.
What about the bad things? What are things that you see that you're like, are you freaking kidding me?
I mean,
you're eating at a restaurant and you hashtag.
Yeah.
Got a T-bone, hashtag New Canoe.
Yeah.
That's endemic sponsor
sure.
right there.
Yeah, I mean,
man, that's great.
Where you at, Willie? You know, come on and sponsor the Fallon Fin Trail.
That's right. That's right.
You go all out.
You know, there are certain people that have certain stigmas too around them.
And ambition.
Yeah. Yep. And then you'll talk to somebody and they'll just flat out tell you, like, man, they're an asshole. Like they're terrible to be around. Like there are those guys, and there are guys that you see at tournaments all the time. They have a bad day and they're terrible to be around. And that's just, you got to leave some of that stuff on the water and just you know, let that go. And some guys struggle with that, and I understand it's a passion, but also, you know, somebody that's just not respected by the community or
respect by your peers is a big part.
It's huge.
I do the same thing for Jackson in the South region down here. You know, I kind of look around and kind of see what everybody's doing. You know, I try to pick and choose. You know, hey, we might need some inshore guys and this and that. You know, you just gotta kind of go with the flow and kind of you're around these people in different tournaments and things too. So you know who's respected and who everybody looks up to, or who's asking, hey man, would you catch them on? And normally guys are helpful, and that's the kind of people you want, that are going to share things and just help it grow.
Yep, absolutely.
Also very loyal too. That's one of the bigger factors is that loyalty. There's nothing like to have somebody next to your side that's trying to help represent the company, and that person is a diehard. Like nothing, something new comes out in another company, and I'm just gonna leave you and dump you out and go to that one. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too. And I see a lot of that happening a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Slivka, you've been kind of quiet, man. So. I've had many conversations with you, and you're wanting to take bigger steps into your whole fishing career, so to speak. I mean, you're hearing some of this talk, thoughts of Pro Tour, sponsorships, doing the extra things. Like, what is it that you really buckled down on and focused on this year? Because I know this year you really buckled down, man. You put in a lot of work, and I think you're starting to get a lot of recognition and things like that. So, I mean, for somebody who is maybe you a year ago, and now that you've put in all this work, what kind of, suggestions and things and, advice would you give somebody?
Just to go after it. I mean, I just kind of sat down February, I got COVID in last February. And with the 2 weeks I had off of doing absolutely nothing, not being able to talk to anybody or see anybody, it kind of had me thinking a lot. And I just realized that years before, I would just fish to kind of have fun, and if I ever wanted to take it seriously and make this a career, that I needed to just buckle down, like you said, and just do the work, and I feel like this year I really stepped it up and just out every single day almost, just fishing, learning, doing everything that I need to, and then I just post a couple of pictures, part of my day.
You're doing a really good job at it. Let me tell you, I've been checking out your stuff. You've been doing really well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
coming from Nicholas Beltran, bro, you just got like the gold medal.
No, dude,
this guy posts all the time, right?
That's a golden seal of approval right there.
You got a golden star today. You were a good boy.
I really told myself, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do this now, rather than wait. And then I kind of got blessed with a few things, meeting you guys, of course, meeting Brian and Susie and everybody, and just going to the right tournament trail at the right time. It all kind of fell in place when it needed to.
Sure. Sure. I dig it. Mr. Hicks, I mean, you're an Instagram superstar. What do you got, 8,000 followers now or something?
Brian, he doesn't care, He doesn't care.
That's true. That's true.
Brian mentioned that stigma. Man. Brian mentioned that stigma earlier, and I'm like, yeah, I'm guilty of that. Everybody knows that I'm the I don't care guy.
That's funny. But, well, I mean, Pro Tour, let's get back to that subject,
define a Pro Tour.
Well, and that's just it. To me personally, Pro Tour is, you got a set amount of guys, whether that's 80, 100, 150, 200 anglers that are committed. In the boat world, you pay your entry fees up front, beginning of the year, for the whole year. You have to commit to the season. I think the kayak should be that way. I think where the big stigma comes into play, is, kayak fishing and kayak fishing tournaments is geared more towards the blue-collared angler, right? Whereas bass boat tournaments, you got to have quite a bit of dough to get into that stuff. Yep. So right now, I think the big stigma is you got a lot of guys that like to fish tournaments, whether they're locally or nationally, and it's a cheap, affordable way to fish that. But if you want to take it to that next level, you have to up that money. And I remember in 2019, I think originally they were talking like 500 bones a tournament. or something, and then they reduced that to 250 because there was this
And there
huge
were still
backlash.
people crying.
Huge backlash, like $250. Like I've spent $250 on way worse things.
Yep.
Way worse things.
Same
I'm
here.
just saying. And you know,
Having now.
and then on the other side of the coin, you know, those same people that were like, oh, it's got to be less. It's got to be less. Well, now the payouts aren't enough, and they're crying about that. So where's the happy medium, right? Like, how do you balance that out? Where do you put it? Is it like Dustin said at the beginning of the show? Is it $1,000 per tournament? 5 Gs, $500? Like, where do you start and where do you make it affordable? I mean, I will say, in 2019, you know, I cashed a few checks. I think I made somewhere around like $2,000 in winnings or something. And that wasn't even close to covering all my costs for travel and food and tackle and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I didn't win any events, but I did cash a few checks. But, you know, when you're driving from Chicago to Kansas over to Tennessee and then back to Chicago, and then a couple weeks later you're going, I forget where we went next. I think it was St. Clair and then Madison and then somewhere else. I mean, that ain't cheap.
No,
You're better off fishing at grassroots. I mean, you're better off coming over to Indiana and hoping you win 3 tournaments, and that's $3,000.
Yeah,
like,
that's how it is here. You can fish Southeast Texas trail here, and then go fish North Texas and Northeast Texas and fish events with 60 to 100 people, and you're cashing checks more than $1,000 if you win.
And there's also no real, like, there's no feeder program for a pro level kayak event right now. Like there just isn't. You know,
so if my memory
with the boat world, you know, they've got
the Opens, the Nations,
BFLs,
all that.
BFL, MLS,
So you can go be a co-angler in these events when you don't have a boat, which is pretty cool.
Exactly.
So
there's all that there.
In regards to the KBF Pro Tour, if my memory serves me correct, and I may not be 100% accurate on this, I believe what Chad said is if they bring it back next year, it'll be open to whoever enters, and then it'll be top however many anglers from that year will be invited back for the next season. Right. And then it'll be, you have to maintain X amount of place and AOY points, and then their trail series would be their feeder up to that. So I think that's the big thing that people are hung up on right now is like, how do you establish that? Is it invite only? Is it, open to anyone? And then it's proving year one. And then you go into this feeder system,
Yeah. Well, let's say you have 100 anglers that they put this list out and they say it's $1,000 entry fee for 7 events throughout the year. Or is there going to be 100 people that are going to put up $7,000 for alphabet?
You're going to get 30.
Not without the sponsorships.
Yep. Yeah. So it goes back again to, kind of what Dustin was saying is even with the higher entry fees, you're still not going to have the higher payout.
Oh my God.
There's a hurricane rolling through Texas right now.
Dang, tornado.
Surprised.
I just knocked my crap down.
Dustin was not injured in this
that's all good.
And
My life is
He's getting a suntan though with that light though.
he got it right back where it was too.
What's going on?
Anyway.
All right.
But anyway, so back to, kind of what this and I kind of talked about earlier, though, is even if you have the higher entry fees and some anglers who are entering and participating, you are still not going to get the payouts that people are wanting to be at this pro or elite level. And in order to get that, we got to have these big time sponsors. You watch TV all the time and football, baseball, or whatever is like, sponsored by Coca-Cola or AT&T. That's where the big money's coming in from, So it's just a matter of, finding this company who's gonna, kick off the world of elite kayak fishing. I think it might be kind of gradual, or maybe just shit out of the blue. Somebody might come in and say, yeah, we'll invest in that. It's just that's how.
Well, you hit the nail on the head talking about TV.
It's just bound to happen.
Advertisements. You gotta have. There's got to be a way for this to be covered. There's got to be a boat out there with somebody filming and some live coverage.
It's coming.
Not just your phones.
Yeah,
right.
I think we're still a ways out from that. I don't see it with a GoPro right now. Don't do it. I don't want crotch shots all day long. Sorry. Film over the shoulder, but you got to have signals got to come into play, just like that discussion's been on KBN ongoing right now too. You'll have to pick and choose your lakes by cell covers, unless you have cell phone boosters, which those are about $5,000. Right. Not everybody's going to have one of them on a kayak.
No.
It's going to have to be big money sponsors to come in to provide that.
Yeah, you got to have the camera crew separate from everything. Yeah, that in a televised program. Yep, viewers get the Benjamins. That's right.
So I don't want to interrupt again, but I've had some conversations with some people lately, and I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than you think, Dustin.
Yeah, we'll see.
It could. Nobody really knows. Yeah, nobody really knows.
There's a possibility with the KFL probably maybe trying to do something. I could see that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
That was supposed to kind of happen this year, but I don't know. I'm curious everybody's thoughts about the KFL this year.
Yeah, I don't like it because I work 2 weekends out of the month and I can't fish.
Well, you and a lot of other anglers.
I'd like to be on the team, but I work 2 weekends out of the month. It burned up on my vacation. Wouldn't be able to fish other tournaments and travel and do saltwater.
That's another thing that I know that's gonna probably hit the fan too. And that's I've noticed that with this whole trail, Florida State Trail Series, was a lot of people had that issue. When scheduling these tournaments. That's another big thing besides judging and trying to take over a whole trail. Is where do we do it? Are they going to allow us there with so many people, with so many anglers? The cell phone connection. That's another thing that's just downright awful right now. It's crazy. It's crazy to do it. But like I said, Dustin, there's going to be a possibility of that happening sooner than you think.
Yeah, but is it going to be like a professional? Is it going to be legit? That's
you gotta start somewhere though, Dustin. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff didn't just come out of the blue because we're all like now infatuated with this whole big payouts and stuff like that's happening. The ball has to roll somehow. You know what I mean? That train is steaming right now, ready to. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen sooner or later. I'll put my word on it. It's gonna happen.
Somebody shells out the money for cell boosters, and more power to them. But until then, I don't see it happening.
I think it's possible. Again,
there's possibilities. Yeah, for sure.
It just depends on marketing and advertising and what companies are going to put the risk and the money into everything. And what benefit are they expecting and actually going to get? What about an event that is scheduled? They got a whole full camera crew there and it's like lightning and hailing and everything. What about those types of things? Are there backup dates already scheduled? What about those things? Whereas like sports and stuff like that, most of the time you can kind of get by with like delays and stuff like that, like with NASCAR, whatever, that type of thing. But like, in the kayak world, it's just like, well, it only happens on the weekend. This is the date that we scheduled it for, that we got our permits for. So yeah, we're kind of shit out of luck, so there's a lot of different variables that are definitely, to be taken into consideration.
For sure.
Yeah. You look at MLF, right? Like they live stream all their events, but you got a camera guy in a boat with a cell booster getting that back to the headquarters and things like that. You can have camera boats following people around for sure, but now where do you get the camera boats? How do you pay for them? Like
exactly,
things like that.
And you got to pay the people working those cameras too.
Yep.
Right.
Where does that come in?
And a broadcast team.
And I'm not sure how kayak fishing is going to appear on kayak tournament fishing is going to appear watching it live like that either, because like Bass Live, you can tell a 5-pounder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with kayak fishing, what are you going to do? Put another camera right over and watch a guy measure it so he can tell you how long it is? Like, I don't know how it's going to translate.
Well, if they're integrating like, Tourney X or Fishing Chaos as, people are submitting their fish, if they're submitting it live,
there you go.
Mind you,
yeah,
that could be the kicker. So that might be like a stipulation that they have is, well, as soon as you catch a fish, you have to submit it so that we can use it for our broadcast and stuff like that,
Which is already happening.
No more sandbaggers, baby.
No more sandbagging.
And do people care enough to watch?
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
That's going to be the whole shebang.
Yeah. Because, you have lulls and fishing, you're on them for a couple of hours and then there's nothing. So, how are they going to choose which kayaks to follow? Do they have a certain group of people? Do they go as far as, assigning people to certain parts of the lake that they have boats, set at, coverage wise?
That's a bunch of great ideas right there. That's
the way you get viewers.
Works, man.
I got it. The way you get the viewers, all tournaments have to be on whitewater rivers.
Oh yeah. You have to twerk when you're going down.
You gotta floss as soon as you catch a fish.
Flossing? Yeah, I'll be flossing.
He just caught a smallmouth. He's trying to put it on the board, and he's coming up to the class 4s. Can he get it done before he hits the raft?
That's hard enough to do through class.
I'm watching that. I'm watching that all day long.
Frankie's got a good comment down there too, and you definitely need a good MC to run it all around.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the Bassmaster guy.
That was the biggest, controversy that people had for the very first Bassmaster, like live on stage, which I can get it because, coming from the kayak community, everybody had these huge expectations for what they wanted to see and what they wanted to hear from, being at a bass event. And then it was just kind of like, meh. And then you're like, wait, what? Really? I wanted to be hyped up. I wanted this to be awesome, and it was just kind of meh,
Yeah, he kind of talked down to people too.
Richard had a great comment. He said it's not all about big business sponsors at rural lakes here in the middle of nowhere. The local chambers of commerce and county government will sponsor events, but you have to show them a great turnout, bringing in tourism dollars and things like that.
Yeah.
Heath Barkley says, do we have to watch it live or could it be done in replay like MLF Cup challenges?
Not going to be done.
That's a hell of a production cost, though.
Yeah. You got a lot of hours editing through footage. If you think about it, you got 100 anglers, 8 hours of footage per angler. That's 800 hours of footage.
And if it's a 3-day event, that's times 3.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking too early. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think we're talking too early. I think this is still, as we're debating this now, I think these are the debates, these are the sit downs and the talks that we need to have as these big organizations to deal with these things. And I think they are doing them. They're just, COVID hit, all these things played a big role with this, kayaks, having issues, selling and stuff. So, I mean, and distributing themselves. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I got into kayak fishing. I got into the tournament scene because I just love the camaraderie of everybody and that community. And I think the community speaks more volume than any other, like just because you have a brand on or some logo on or some other stuff. I think that's what's really attracting to, for instance, I guess it was the MLF that KBF, got in contact with. I think that was a big deal. And I think most of that was, look, these guys are making some noise. Let's jump on. Let's jump on board with them. It didn't happen, but look how close we got to it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think it's coming though, man. MLF.
It definitely is. And especially right now, right? Like you bring up the COVID factor, the outdoors industry as a whole hit a huge boom. Like, with the kayak shop I work with, like, can't keep a damn boat in stock.
Yep.
They sell all kinds of outdoor equipment, cross country skis. Don't know when those are coming in. Shoes, hiking boots. Don't know when those are coming in. Clothing, like paddles, like accessories, like it's just been this downward spiral, right? Because A, everything's sold out. B, companies weren't ready for it. And C, workforces weren't what they could have been to keep up with the demand.
Yep.
You know, and that's the thing too, right? Like, what does next year look like? That's what a lot of kayak manufacturers, shops, you know,
take a couple
outfitters,
years.
things like that. They're wondering, you know, is there still going to be the demand that's been there for the past 2 years? Now that COVID's slowly tapering away, hopefully. You know, things like that. And it's all dependent on what part of the country you're from. You know, like where Richard's at Eastport, I remember when COVID was going on, nobody was wearing masks in Tennessee. You know what I mean?
We were up there drinking moonshine at the freaking roadside barbecue stands, drinking some damn moonshine
out of the same jar as everybody else. Yeah, we boosted our immunities there.
That's
for our antibodies.
Hey, that stuff was smooth. And that barbecue was on point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
That was a good time.
But and that's it too. Like, look at New York; they were on lockdown. Chicago, like, you know, we're still messed up. Man. You know,
all that slowed it down. You know.
So you know, that's the thing. Like, especially now, like you got a lot of travel restrictions coming up where there's talk of you have to be vaccinated and you have to do this and you got to do that. And, you know, are people going to abide by that? Or are they going to go out on the road, enjoy the outdoors versus going to Disneyland? You know what I mean? So it's kind of an interesting time. I think we're in currently in today's day and age. But it's, I mean, me personally, I love seeing the outdoors boom. You know what I mean? Like people getting outside, throwing these things in you know, to the wayside and, you know, things like that. I mean, you know, too many people are caught up in technology and don't spend enough time outdoors.
And I think, you know, as, you know, kayak fishing tournaments evolve, you know, I think we're going to be kind of grouped out, you know, more and more. You know, you're going to have your local clubs, you're going to have your grassroots clubs, you're going to have your like regional stuff in a sense, and then you're going to have your like higher elite stuff. You know, I don't think those core things are ever going to go away, because I mean, the more and more people that come into this sport, you know, they got to start somewhere. You know, some of them might start big and see where they go. You know, other ones are going to be like, whoa, this is a thing. Like, how do I get involved? Sure. You know, they're going to start, you know, at somewhat of the local level and, you know, get immersed into this, you know, huge opportunity of, you know, kayak fishing tournaments, whether it be, you know, local, online only, because there's a lot of clubs that just do nationwide online tournaments too. So like if they don't even want to get around people, they don't have to.
Sure.
You know, it just, there is so much opportunity out there. I mean, for good and sometimes for bad, because you can't make up your mind of what you want to do, you know, but I think we're always going to have, you know, our core groups available to us, which is like what, you know, makes the kayak fishing community as it is. You know, you start off in your smaller group, you get to know your people as you extend through the ranks, if you do, you know, or if you want to, you know, you get more exposure, you get to know more people, you learn everything. And then, you know, you just decide where you can go from there, if you can go anywhere. You know, I mean, how many people really, truly in the kayak fishing world right now make, or I'd say not really make, but try to make their life like just competing in kayak fishing tournaments and try to make money off of it? There's what, like 10?
Yeah.
If
that. I mean, aren't they starting off with like college? I think that's what KBF did. I think I might be wrong. You guys can correct me if I'm not, but I think that they're trying to merge, you know, college. You know, you get your whatever
Mhm.
you graduate whatever, and you start getting into the pro or the elite or the more pro things. I think that's another way to get in that way. So I mean that right there is encouraging for people to be like, okay, well, listen, this is what I want to do with my career. This is what I want to do with my education, I guess, or scholarships and stuff, to get involved and get in a higher, So I mean, that can be a possibility.
Yeah, because doesn't Trinity X have a scholarship of some sort?
I believe they're in the works for that, but
are they in the works? Because I thought there was something of some sort that they had in the works.
And if they do that, I mean, there's going to be a lot of young kids out there who enjoy kayak fishing. That's been, being brought up now in kayak fishing. They're going to be wanting to get in that. To get that platform going, So
yes.
There's already some high school tours going on.
There you go.
I was going to say that. Yeah, down south, I think Georgia right now has got a big high school
Arbin, something like that. There's a bunch of them already now. But that's a great way to do it too.
And that's an encouragement. Maybe the kayak community doesn't want a pro level, and that's fine too.
That's.
Keep it grassroots.
Well, we'll go around. We're a little over an hour right now, so we'll do final thoughts, and I'll wrap it up at the end. We'll start with Mr. Hicks, go to Dustin, then Gibson, then Susie, then Slivka, and down to Nicholas.
Yeah, man. Good time with you guys. That's it.
I don't care.
That was like a Jay Randall.
I don't know what to say when we're talking tournaments. So I'm just like, all right, I'll listen. That's it.
You should have just said River. I'm done.
I got it. Let's go, Brandon.
Dustin.
Oh, jeez. That was a great podcast. We're not worthy.
Party on, Wayne.
Dude, you look like that Matt Robertson guy. Bassmaster Matt Robertson.
Wayne's World, party time.
Totally
excellent.
Well, this ending just took a turn.
Jeez.
Oh,
all right,
man.
All right, I'm back to normal.
Final thoughts, my friend.
Final thoughts. Yeah. Good times tonight. Enjoyed being on After Hours. It's been a while since I jumped on one of these. So just been chugging along with Chasing the Tide. Everybody remember to tune in and listen to that. Got a new segment coming out Sunday. But yeah, Pro Tour, kayak tournaments, I think it's gonna happen. I'll see it in the future sometime. Maybe not the next 6 months, but year, maybe a little further out. But I can see it happening.
Let's do it. Gibson.
Yeah, it was a good time talking to you guys as always, and it was good talking to Nicholas and you guys down there. Yeah, like I said, if the kayak community wants it, they'll find somebody to support it. And Pro Tour, I think, is probably going to be around. I'm kind of like Dustin. I don't know if it's going to be this year, next year, or 10 years from now, but hopefully it happens. And yeah, just get out there and have fun kayak fishing. That's what it's all about at the end of the day anyways. So
Susie.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. We're in for it.
Bring it on, Susie. Bring it on.
It's always still fascinating at the end of the day to see, where kayak fishing started, where it's come along, and the aspect of where it could go to. It comes down, to a lot of personal preference, what you want as an angler yourself, what you want for your community. If you don't want a pro series, you don't have to participate. You don't have to get involved. The thing is once a pro series does come along, if it does, that doesn't mean that your local trails and your grassroots stuff is going to go away. That's always going to be there because you're always going to have those people who, can't afford to go pro, who don't want to go pro, and, just want to go out and have a good time with a bunch of people, try to catch some fish and maybe win some money along the way. Right? you know, at the end of the day, you know, what's it really, you know, worth to you, you know, and what's, you know, good for the community as a whole and for everybody as a whole. You know, there's always going to be pros and cons to everything, but you know, most important thing is just, you know, do what you guys love. You know, if you just want to go out and just catch some fish and be like, hey, yeah, I caught some fish, baby, go for it. If you're gonna, you know, if you want to go out and compete in a trail and kick everybody's ass, hey, more power to you. There are people who can do that, and I wish I could. You know.
Slipka.
That's all.
Well, first, I love being on here with everybody. I appreciate the conversations and everything.
You still owe us each $20 for allowing you to come on.
I'll take a Texas Roadhouse gift card.
That loaded sweet potato, man.
Oh, yeah.
I just better not put eggs on my salad.
Oh man.
Okay.
Kind of like what I was saying earlier, you know, I feel like we need a pro tour, even if you don't plan on fishing a pro tour or ever have dreams of fishing a pro tour. It's still going to help out in some way or somehow in people's fishing careers as far as kayak fishing goes. You know, it brings more spotlight to the sport, which brings more money to it, and it'll bring more money to the grassroots also.
Yeah.
And put more people interested in it. So I'm pro tour.
Pro tour.
Pro plus.
Pro, baby.
Mr. Beltran.
Oh man. Anyway, guys, I enjoyed being on. I know it was random for me to pop up here, but I just thought, you know, you guys are always talking about some good topics and good. I think what we need, and I've told Brian this, and I think I've said it in other podcasts, is we need more podcasts. I think podcasts have done an incredible thing on trying to shine that light, give everybody an idea of what we're thinking and what we're trying to pursue. I also want to say something about the Pro Tour. I mean, that is going to happen. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound as confident as I probably am sounding right now, but I've only been doing this for 3 years, and I never thought in my life that I would ever been able to be as welcome. Is that John?
That's
John,
Mr. Rat.
John Ray.
The Podfather. That's the Podfather.
Anyway, listen, I don't want to go on that long. Just I appreciate just being on. You know, if you guys need any help, I think that's one of the best things that this community has to offer, is that everybody's willing to help. And if we do that, Pro Tour's coming. Okay,
Amen
so
what's gonna happen? That.
Bingo was his name.
I'll leave it with this. You know, kayak fishing as a whole is in an interesting time. You know, I'm all for the Pro Tour. Don't get me wrong. I fished it when it was there before. I think the biggest issue we have right now is a lot of people are voicing their opinions in the wrong ways in the community, and it's bringing negative spotlight onto our sport.
Amen.
We need to have more of these conversations. If you don't like something, just shut the hell up and fish. You know, like, you don't need to run.
Or try to help the situation.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Find a positive way to go about it.
Exactly. If you have some different point of view, let us know and let us see what we can do to compromise on it. Because that's a healthy relationship on all terms. Is to
exactly.
Talk it out like adults.
That's I think that's the biggest thing right now, is a lot of people want to point the finger and say what's wrong, but at the same time they have no suggestions to improve or fix situations or new ideas. I mean, you know, it's not just kayak fishing, it's everything right now, you know, like everything's evolving. Life is ever changing. And if you're not coming up with new and relevant ideas and continuing growth and advancing these things, you're never going to go anywhere. You're going to be stuck in the past. So, you know, just be kind to your fellow anglers, get out there, fish, be a positive influence in the community, and, you know, try to make it better, whether it's at your grassroots level or you're reaching for the clouds like Mr. Slivka and want to be, the next Babe Winkleman. I don't know.
Babe.
That'll do, pig.
I was trying to think of like some big bass guy, and I drew a blank. Kevin Van Dam.
KV.
Kevin Van Dam. I mean, there
Mike
you go.
Iaconelli.
Yeah,
Van
right.
Dam, Gerald
Drew a blank.
Swindler.
Drew
Or
a
the
blank.
three legends. I mean, come on.
Yeah, drew a blank. Sorry, guys. So, we'll be back next week. I'm really loving this format. I hope everybody out there listening is too, whether you're watching on the lives or the podcast. I know we've had a lot of great feedback, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to Mr. Randall about like what we've been doing here while he's been absent. I mean, we've kind of discussed it. So I think we're going to keep it rolling, man. I love these open discussions. Every week there's always a hot topic that, is floating around the community. Should we do this? Should we do that? Like things like that. I think this is a really positive way. We all go about it the same way. Nobody's gotten into internet fist fights yet. So, I think we're doing something cool. So, and I like talking to multiple people. It's always a good time. Mr. Gibson, thanks for taking time out to join us tonight. Beltran, thanks for jumping in last minute. Glad you could join us. You other four, I mean.
Enough said.
I'm just kidding. In the famous words of Brad Hicks, I don't care. But no, I appreciate you guys jumping on. It's always good talking with you guys. And thanks everybody who tuned in, had some valuable input throughout the show. If you guys came in late, you could always listen on the podcast platforms or go back and rewatch on Facebook or YouTube. We'll get a couple stand-in guests for next week as well. So as always, we'll catch you next Thursday, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Till next time, boys and girls. Tight line, smooth paddle.